Hi everybody, this is an update for July 9th. Um, so, Dan and I thought that we were going to be meeting with the transplant team. However, we met with a transplant physician, and I guess they had already got together last night and decided no, they would not offer him a transplant. I don't mean to sound cynical when I say that. It's just, when I had the initial um, consult 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, um, you know, they said, well, no, because his BMI with those 18 liters is too high and we don't have a proper weight, and he needs to be under 36, BMI of 36, and he has the right-sided heart failure. Um, uh, then they talked a little bit about deconditioning and whatnot. So, we kind of thought, well, all right, his BMI is under 34 now. He lost 30 kilos. He does not have the right-sided heart failure. He still is multi-organ, or not multi-organ. He only has involvement of one organ. And just the sheer fight that Mike has. I mean, he's still here. He still only has one organ that is involved. And so what? So we're just going to now wait for that catastrophic event. And now I do understand that transplant is not the be-all end-all. We understand, well, I mean, it kind of is be-all end-all, but I mean, it isn't like the miracle fix, is what I mean to say. Like, it isn't, organs often have a shelf life, in a sense, because they, they don't last forever. Rejection's a huge issue. Infection, because of needing to be on anti-rejections the rest of your life. However, I just about said vet. Wow. The doctor said that it would be putting Mike through so much suffering and, essentially putting him through hell for only to sort of prolong the inevitable, his death. And, so Danny was brave enough to say, well, without it, you're saying that he may die going through it, or, a year or 2 or 3 or 5 later, but the alternative is death. So, I mean, it just almost seems like, and he just continued to say that it would be putting him through hell and so much suffering, and that he wouldn't put his family through it, his family members. And then I said, please don't say that to me. Like, that's the second time a doctor has actually said that to me. Not like in that specific situation, like regarding that specific thing, but just that, like, and for me, it's like, you don't. So I said to him, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you don't know what you would do until you're in this situation. So then he proceeded to tell me that he has been in this situation with a family member, that his uncle had a liver transplant that didn't go well or something. And yet, I told him, well, I have these articles that talk about their 100% success rate thus far. I mean, granted, they're new, but why would Vancouver do 4 of them in the last 2 months? Why would Ontario have done one? Why would there be, I don't know, it was one article that I had read had already done 19. Why would they be doing them though, if they're just putting people through hell? And he talked about candidacy again, and the people in the articles were way sicker than Mike. I mean, there was, some were able to be weaned off of sedation so that they could, actually consent themselves, but they were still on ECMO. So, and many had, like I said, like started into multi-system, particularly one case that had multi-organ failure, and one person had already had a heart attack and a stroke and still got on the list and still had the transplant. I was headed somewhere with that, but I've since forgotten what I was talking about. Anyway, that's kind of usual for me right now. Anyway, he said, absolutely no, Alberta will not be offering this. So we talked about, well, I guess then we'll have to try to consult somewhere else, like just to see. I said, of course, I don't know what the cases are like, how they're choosing their people in Vancouver or anywhere else in Canada. Like, I don't know, because it's not published. Oh, I know where I was going with that other thing, was that he said, well, and they're not going to publish their failures. So researchers don't publish, or when writing research articles or writing articles for peer-reviewed journals, they don't publish their failures. So if failures aren't getting published, which they do, but it just, I don't know, guess in these particular cases, they haven't had failures. I'm sure there have been some somewhere, I just didn't happen to have these articles. But if failures aren't published, then to me, our whole medical research is crap. It's not correct. It's garbage. Let's throw it all out then. I mean, I know that's kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but essentially he was saying, well, they don't publish their failures, but we learn from failures. So I don't understand why he would say such a thing. Like, it's not like, we were also just expecting that, there would be this success. Like, and I said to him, I don't really understand. I've kind of thought that, Alberta might be, especially because this is like this is the top center, that, this is how we get advancement, is by trying, right? Like, I don't know if they're just afraid to try and fail and get egg on their face or whatever, and not look like the super center, or I don't know. Like, again, I don't know. I mean, sure, I do understand there's risk. He's not the ideal candidate. He's not up walking around. He's not your typical typical transplant patient. But again, this is COVID. It's new. And he's talking about number of days on ECMO again. And the studies again talk about, well, you shouldn't even look at transplant till at least 6 weeks on ECMO, and giving the lungs an opportunity to see if they're going to heal. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know. And then when we talked about consult, then he said, well, that's, from somewhere else or whatever. I understood, like, when I thought of trying to get consult from Vancouver from this Dr. Yee, that would be kind of like through our transplant team. Like they would consult each other and talk and that kind of thing. But no, he said that if we were wanting a consult elsewhere, then that would mean leaving the hospital. So transporting Mike somewhere else. I, I don't understand that. Like, I can't I consent to Mike's files being sent somewhere? Like, can't. And I don't know how to go about that process. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I did call Dr. Yee's office, but their voicemail actually still had that they were on holidays, but they would be back even though the day was already, like, that date's passed. And I informed them that their message said that they were still away. However, anyway, whatever. So I haven't heard back from them. I don't know if I will. I'm hoping maybe Monday I will hear something. And I just didn't want to overstep. So that's why, I thought that's how the consultation would happen. But apparently that's not the case. And he even said, though, that, oh, well, Vancouver consults with them and sends patients their way. Well, okay, so then why couldn't you just give Vancouver and Dr. Yee a call and just kind of say, so what is your criteria? Like, what, would you consider this person? And that's just not going to happen. So I don't know. But then one of the nurses today said to me that she thought it could happen through the intensivist, sharing of files, like if I consent to that. So I'm going to talk to the doc. This doctor this week is another fabulous, fabulous, fabulous man. Like, I met him, I think week 1 or 2 or something, on nights, and he was just kind and very humble. And so he spent time with us yesterday and did, do what we asked, which was consult the transplant team. And then today, because we didn't ask about, so, well, what were his thoughts towards the plan then? Because he said he's not here to tell us it's time to shut it off. So, like, what were his thoughts for treatment? And he walked us through comparative of one CT to the other. It actually didn't. I mean, I suppose it looked in some degree that there was some worsening in the lower, like, to the bases of the lungs, like at the bases. There was some deterioration, although slight, but there was also improvement. And then he had the collapse and he had some blood collections elsewhere. But he showed us all of this stuff and said, like, there's this consideration and these things could be improved. Like, we could do it too, but he didn't want to because it could possible further infection. And like, he spent a lot of time, and he showed us the films and he showed us the reports, and he spoke to us and really, like, told us lots of things. And he made a phone call to the CEO of a company, CEO. Oh man, my brain. The chief medical officer of, sounds like a med company of sorts from Vancouver, I think it is, who a friend of ours had contacted. I can't remember regarding what medication exactly or why, but anyway, so he did call with us in the room, and that person's cell phone, and didn't get a hold of that person, but did leave a message. So I don't know, maybe something will come of that. I don't know. And it was a very overwhelming day today emotionally, and I'm very disassociated in a way from myself. If I here we go. If I allow myself to feel emotion, then we're screwed. So I'm trying hard to just kind of stay away and stay very clinical. So it's been a really emotional day. I just feel like in a sense, this team is kind of playing God in a way. I mean, I get, but in a way, I understand. Like, I do understand. I'm not saying, I do understand that the donor pool is small, and they want to give somebody the best chance, but I just still don't understand. I don't understand from what they're saying are the reasons, based on what I've read in the research studies, why he would be any different than anybody else, because he's actually better than those. But he wasn't willing to entertain looking at the articles. He wasn't, whatever. I mean, again, they're not, I have limited knowledge, but still, yeah. So that's where we sit today. If any of you have any ideas, please bring them forward to me or to us. I really honestly would like to start entertaining the Chinese medicine, the traditional Chinese medicine, but I don't have peer-reviewed journal articles showing evidence that they work. I only have what was sent to me from the company and the doctors that made this stuff. So I don't think they're willing to entertain that. And they just have their, I guess, cases were showing improvement with these people. Again, they're not COVID-19 patients. They're not in ICU. They're not on ECMO. They have, cystic fibrosis. They have idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. They have COPD, things like that, showing improvement of the lungs and improvement of gas exchange and that kind of stuff, which to me that should say something, but because it's not published in a peer review journal article, I guess. I'm starting to get really tired. I feel like I'm backed in a corner. I don't know what to do anymore. I am frantically trying to figure it out. I mean, the doc is willing to give Mike more time. I think, he seems like he's weaning sedation very slowly, or what I hope is very slowly, because I keep saying it's so fast. You guys just do it so fast that he doesn't have a chance for his body to, he's fragile. His body needs to sit at that level for a while and then take it down some more. Don't just rush and then have him fail every time, because every time he fails, it just seems like it makes him weaker. So why are we doing that? And then, of course, we're going to have another physician next week who's going to have their own ideas. And it's maddening. It's frustrating. I told a nurse again today, I feel like we're not being heard. When I'm saying, I think this, I know Mike, or even just, he's really gurgling. I can actually see the fluid in his throat. Do you mind giving him a suction? Oh no, that's just the trach cuff leak. No, I can actually see the bubbles in his mouth. I can see it, and then they go and suction him and get a bunch of stuff out. But they just don't want to. It's not everybody, don't get me wrong. It's not everyone. It's just, I'm sure they're sick of me after this long. I'd probably be sick of me after this long too, but wish they would just listen to family members. They know their person. We have some senses that because of the familiarity that they don't. And families just know stuff about their person. Anyway, I'm talking really a long time now, so I'm gonna leave it here. I love you all. Please stay safe. And if anything changes tonight, I will do another update. If not, until tomorrow.